Shalom Avracha, this is Chaya sprung from Yerushalayim, Parish Lech-Lecha, and we would like to speak about an interesting topic. The title of the shir, and the topic ipso facto, is the gratitude of Avraham and the self-sacrifice of Mamre. Each aspect of Avraham's gratitude and Mamre's self-sacrifice basically serves as a role model for us. But before we start speaking about the shir, so we would like to introduce a story that's very, very pertinent in our day and age. In the first pasuk of Lech-Lecha, Lech-Lecha ma'artzecha me'ladetecha mibeis avicha, so Rashi emphasized the word lecha, Lech-Lecha. And he said, Lecha, you go. So Rashi says, La'anoscha l'toivoscha, for your sake and for your benefit. So there's a very, very nice Hasidic story that I believe is very pertinent to contemporary man. And that is that the great Reb Nochem in Chernobyl, he was the mechaber of Ma'orei Naim. So once he came to visit his good friend, Reb Zev Wolf, in Zhitomir. That was the name of the city. He himself wrote a very famous sefer. It's called Ha'or HaMeir. And there were people there that were enemies of Reb Nochem Chernobler, and somehow or other they were successful in informing to the authorities that he committed some crimes. Of course, it was not true. Nevertheless, the authorities believed these informers, and they arrested him and put him in jail. For 90 days, he was not allowed any visitors. After 90 days, so Reb Zev Wolf himself came in order to offer solace and comfort to Reb Nochem Chernobler. All of a sudden, something very mysterious happened. A woman appeared, and the woman asked both of them that we know from Pirkei Avos, according to all the Rishonim, Rashi, Rabbeinu Yoina, Rambam, the 10 trials and tribulations that HaKadosh Baruch Hu administered to Avraham Avinu. One was Lech-Lecha me'artzecha, you leave your home, your country, and your father's house. In other words, total separation, divestiture from your homeland, your city, and also from the intimacy of your home. And this is the first, ironically, this is the first Nisoyan, the first trial and tribulation the Torah mentions insofar as Avraham Avinu is concerned. But there were many others beforehand, and the Torah does not mention this. We'll speak about this a little bit later. But she asked both Gedolei Olam if it was a Nisoyan, whatever the pshat should be, if it's a Nisoyan, it's a trial and tribulation. So why do we say Lecha? It's for you, for your sake, for your benefit, and for your good. It's not any sign that you're going to benefit and have goodness come out of this Lech-Lecha me'artzecha me'ladetecha mibeis avicha. So they were not able to answer her question. So she said, I'll tell you the answer. Avraham Avinu was a very great man. Odom HaGadol Shebanokim, he was a giant among giants. Nevertheless, he represents Amud HaChesed, kindness on the highest levels possible, almost supernatural kindness. That's Midas Avraham, Midas HaChesed v'Harachamim. However, he was also a specialist. Today we have doctors that are specialists. They specialize. They know general medicine, but they have a specialty in one field. So Avraham Avinu, within the framework of Chesed, of kindness, distinguished himself in Achnosas Orchim, of bringing in wayfarers into his house and offering them hospitality. This was the unique aspect of the overall attribute of kindness, generosity that he bestowed upon the entire human race, upon the entire humanity. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that he should feel He should experience what it is to be a wayfarer, what it is to be homeless, what it is to be a wanderer. Because if he'll be able to feel this, and he'll have an awareness of this experience, he'll be able to increase his existential capacities, his existential and spiritual capabilities to even offer hospitality on a higher level. Because if a person does not feel the plight of his fellow man, he might know it intellectually, but if emotionally he cannot feel it, so he lacks a certain empathy and sympathy and identification with his fellow man. Empathy through having the identical feeling of your fellow man who is in need. So this means putting yourself in their place and in their shoes. And this increases your capacity to bestow hospitality on wayfarers because you know how they feel. You know what it is to be a wanderer, no vinod. And then all of a sudden, the woman disappeared. So Reb Zev Wolf said, now I know why she appeared. We don't know who she was. It's a Hasidic folklore. However, the answer she gave is a very, very good answer. Now I know why she appeared. Why did she appear? So Zev Wolf explained that Nochem in Chernobyl was also a tremendous Baal Chesed. Tremendous. However, he also had a specialty. And what was that specialty? In Pidyon Shvuyim. In those days, unfortunately, the Poritz who was able, so to speak, to get the license from the Tsar to collect money in the form of taxation from everybody, including the Jews. And when it came to some Jewish businessmen who made a little bit of money, so they extorted a fortune of money for taxes. And if he couldn't pay it, they would kidnap him. He would be held captive for ransom. So Reb Nochem in Chernobyl went around collecting money. He was from the first of the great Hasidic leaders that specialized in Pidyon Shvuyim. He had followers afterwards. Levis and Varditchev followed in his footsteps. So Min HaShamayim, they wanted to do something which was identical to Avraham Avinu. It was l'toivoscha u'lahanoascha. It was for your sake, for your benefit, for your goodness. Now you will be able to actually feel the plight of somebody who is a captive, somebody who even will not have any visitors. You at least have, after 90 days, you were granted visitation rights that I came here, offer you solace, strengthen you, try to pick you up insofar as your spirits are concerned. No question about it. But these people are under tremendous affliction. And now that you feel it, so you have an extra awareness and sensitivity to their feelings, and you will more intensely be motivated to help them. This is by way of introduction. And we know the famous story of the Lech-Lecha. Now, the Lech-Lecha also collected money. He was a big Baal Chesed. And on one winter day, Lech-Lecha's name, of course, was Reb Elyachai Meisels. He went to visit a very wealthy manufacturer by the name of Poznansky, and knocked on the door in the evening on a cold Polish night in Lodz. And of course, the Mishamish answered the door. And when he came into the hallway, so he requested that Mr. Poznansky come and receive him, welcome him. So the butler said, it's very cold over here, but better you should go to see Mr. Poznansky. However, he insisted, and the Mishamish transmitted the message, and he was a very distinguished Rav. He had a lot of respect by the people. So Mr. Poznansky agreed to go to the hallway to welcome him. Anyway, he was a tremendous conversationalist. He asked him, how were things? How's the family? How's the business going? 10, 15 minutes went by very quickly. And Poznansky said that he's actually shivering from the cold and he cannot continue the conversation here in the hallway. Please come in to the house where we have warmth, a heated home. So he told him, I wanted you to stay here in the hallway for at least 10, 15 minutes. For what reason? Because you should be able to experience what cold is. Why? Because I'm collecting money for fuel for the destitute people in Lodz that can't afford any fuel for heating. And of course, he gave him a very, very, very nice nesina. When you experience it, it's totally different because it increases the awareness of the heart, the special, unique warmth and sensitivity, and therefore all the ma'asim tovim, the good deeds, will be elevated to be great deeds. This we just mentioned parenthetically. We'll go back to our topic of discussion, the gratitude of Avraham Avinu, which we'll see is very, very unique. And in addition, we shall see what's called true self-sacrifice of Mamre, who is not necessarily in the spotlight of Torah heroes. He does not occupy a central place. However, you'll see, Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach, that he did something remarkable, and it's a lesson for all of us eternally to learn. It's the Netzach Netzachim eternally. The pasuk at the beginning of Vayera says, "Vayera Elov Hashem be'Eloinei Mamre." Kadosh Baruch Hu appeared to Avraham after the bris milah in the groves of Mamre. Belonged to him. So, of course, the question naturally arises: why should the Torah tell us exactly where HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself, where there was Ashras Hashchina? What connection does it have to the groves of Mamre? So Rashi says, we all know HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewards everybody. If they did something good, he rewards them. If they did something exceptional, noble, outstanding, they get rewarded many times in this world, especially if it's Gemilas Chasadim. So we get part of the reward in this world as well. So Rashi says, because he advised him to go through with the bris milah, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the previous parasha in Lech-Lecha, that's our parasha that we're dealing with, commanded Avraham to undergo bris milah at a very old age. So he took advice, he consulted Mamre, and Mamre, like the Chazals tell us, told him to go through with bris milah. So the Sifsei Chachamim bring down the question of Rabbi Chanan Mizrahi. So they said, how is it possible? It's astonishing. The Omad, at this point, at least the most of the 10 Nisyonis, a Pelagodol, we don't understand it. We can't understand such a thing. We'll try to speak about this a little bit. Ba'arichos, we'll try to articulate the question a little bit more in a moment. So he answers that that's for sure. That's axiomatic. Impossible to assume otherwise. We all understand what the Rabbi Mizrahi says, that there was fakis whether he should be Mekayim the mitzvah or not. That's impossible to accept. We can't even have a Havamina like that. Of course, there was no doubt whatsoever that Avraham Avinu would comply with the will of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He would abide with the will of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kal v'chaymer, he risked his life so many times for Kiddush Shem Shamayim that this is unquestionable. It's absurd to think not that way. So what was the consultation that he consulted his good friend Mamre to do it b'farhesia or to do it b'tzino? Where should it be performed, publicly or privately? Very good teretz. However, difficult to understand this teretz as well, because why would Avraham Avinu, who was a Odom Agol Shebanokim, consult Mamre as if he has certain expertise in Kiyum HaMitzvahs whether the form of the mitzvah should be a public type of ceremony or should be done privately. Why should Mamre be the address? He didn't necessarily, we know of, have any expertise in kiyum mitzvahs, whether it should be said of the Farhasiyah. A very difficult answer. But beforehand, we should like to articulate and elaborate on the question. The nusach of the question, he was a tzaddik gadol, Avraham Avinu, and he was able to endure difficult nisyonos till here. And that was voluntary. So Kadosh Baruch Hu did not appear to him till Parshas Lech-Lecha when he was 75 years old. So the question naturally arises, right? And Ibn Ezra asked this question. It's an excellent question. Why were the other nisyonos not mentioned in the Torah? The Ibn Ezra, according to his cheshbon, understood that this is from the later nisyonos. Why was the nisyon of, for example, Ibn Ezra says, why was the nisyon, which was a great nisyon of Kivshon Ha'esh, not mentioned in the Torah? This is the question that Ibn Ezra asks. So the Ibn Ezra also says that it was not even alluded to in Ur Kasdim. We can't make any remozim. There was no whatsoever. Right? Ibn Ezra says even Ur Kasdim is simply a bika al kein be'urim, right? And ein shum remez. There's no remez whatsoever to the nest of Kivshon Ha'esh when Avram was thrown into Kivshon Ha'esh. Simple as that. Ella anu mekablim zois kishar hilchos shel Torah. We accept everything that the Chazal have told us, but there is no remez even. Not that it's not mentioned, but even more than that, there's no intimation whatsoever, says David Ezra, insofar as the nest of Kivshon Ha'esh. So the question is naturally why. So we have a very interesting answer, and this, I believe, shows what's called tzidkis of Avraham Avinu, and this is one of the salient features of Avraham Avinu insofar as why Chazal designated him with the appellation Ha'odam HaGodol Sheba'anokim. He was singular. There was no one like Avraham Avinu. He was the only one. So Rabbi Yeshua Kutner in his Sefer Yeshua's Malkoi says the following: Bishashi Hipil Nimrod as Avraham Avinu Olam Hashalom Kivshon Ha'esh, brings down the Gemara. He was thrown in violently into a furnace by Nimrod himself. The Gemara says, so Gavriel said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Malach Gavriel, Ered Vatzane, I will go down and I will make sure that the fires don't burn. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, remarkably, Ani Yochid Boilami, I am singular in my world. Avram Yochid Be'olamri. And Avram also is a Yochid in my world. Kadosh Baruch Hu spoke about himself. I am singular, one and only in this world, and in my world also there's somebody else who is singular, and he's one and only one, Avram Avinu. So therefore, the Gemara tells us, this is a Gemara Kuf Yud Chesim Psachim, it's appropriate for the unique singular individual, that's Kadosh Baruch Hu, the unique singular being, that he should save the unique singular being who is Avram Avinu. So the Chazal say, Amalek saved them. So the question is, what exactly does this mean? So Rabbi Yeshua Kutner said his famous Yisoid. Even though there's a chiyuv of Kiddush Hashem, Gzeres Hashmad, if a goy, violent goy, threatens a Jew to kill him if he's not over a certain aver, it's exeris hashmad, it's the time of religious persecution. There's a mitzvah of Nikdashti B'Soif B'nai Yisrael, Misar Atzmacha L'Misa, and B'Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. Even if it's Arkas or the Nisana, even if the religious persecution expresses itself only in changing either the shape of a knot that a Jew ties his shoes with, he uses the shoelaces to form a specific knot that happens to be a minig Yisrael, or it could be the color of the shoelace, whatever it is. Arkas or the Nisana, which is not a complete mitzvah. Rashi says it's a minig Yisrael. It's a custom Jew. So there's a chiyuv of mitzvah kiddush Hashem. However, that's only b'makom. That's only in a case where it was precipitated by the goy who made a zman of Jewish religious persecution. But no one is obligated to arouse the anger of the goyim by attacking all of their minhagim, all of their customs that don't comply to, let's say, the Zion mitzvah she'nitztavu b'nei Noach. We're not obligated in any way to undertake with our motivation, with our inspiration to change the world insofar as Avodah Zarah is concerned. We're not obligated. And should somebody of his own volition, through his own self-motivation and self-inspiration, even though he means l'shem shamayim, with a pure, pristine intention to eradicate Avodah Zarah, should he be, so to speak, captured by the enemy, tortured, put to death, so he has a din of ma'abed atzmai ladas. Suicidal. It's suicidal. He was not obligated to do it. Yet Avraham Avinu, as the Chazal say, brings down the Chazal, so Avraham Avinu precipitated to attack Nimrod. Nimrod was the most mighty warrior of the time. He was a king of a great nation. And of course, why was he called Nimrod? Shehimrod Oilam, the entire world and his nation against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He actually fought a battle against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He was a kafir be'ikr. He denied the existence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The world, right, was not created by God. There is no manig in the world. It's hefker. That's why it's called Nimrod. Himrod. He was the one that undertook with his own motivation, with his own inspiration, to make a merit to rebel against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, if the end, you're trying to have a war with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to lose. But before the end came, so Avraham Avinu was his adversary. Avraham Avinu was his opposition. And as much as he could accomplish, he accomplished. Nevertheless, at the end, Nimrod violently seized him and threw him into a kivshan ha'esh. Avraham Avinu was a yochid ba'olam, with emunah tahira, and therefore he rebuked the entire world in order to bring light where there's darkness. And he was willing to risk his life, but he did not have to do it according to the Hilchas Kiddush Hashem. He was not obligated to put himself in such dangers. So therefore, the Torah does not bring it down. Why not? Because whatever is mentioned in the Torah, even the stories are there, lohoiros. Torah's lashon hoiro, to teach us haderech asher yelchu, but what should be our conduct. And if this was brought down, so there would be people that would try to emulate Avraham Avinu, and they would actually go and arouse the kumvasei actively the anger of the goyim, of the Christians, for example, who believe not in unity, of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. They believe in Shniyos. Other, and the Mechuyev, it's Avodah Zarah. The Mechuyev to believe in the unity of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And they're Oiv the Avodah Zarah. So he might undertake actively to try to Mashiach the Christians, arouse their anger, and if they would, at the end, capture him and execute him, so it's Ma'abadas Ma'adas, and it's not Mechuyev. Ma'abadas Ma'adas is an Avera. So therefore, it's not mentioned in the Torah. We're mentioning this answer to the Evan's question just to show what Rabbi Elchanan Mizrahi meant, that he was a tzaddik. Tzaddik Ador, Adam Gadol Shebanokim, a Yochid B'dor, the Gemara calls him. He's Yechidi B'Oilami. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself says he's Yechidi B'Oilami. If we were to ask ourselves another question, and this question is a very good question. We heard an answer from Reb Leib Malin, who said he heard the answer from Reb Yeruchim, the Mashgiach of Mir. And the Bible critics also ask this question because they're out to demean and belittle the heroes of the Torah. So the Gemara tells us, and also Rashi brings it down on the pasuk, Vayita Eshel Bevel Shova, Vayikresha B'Shem Hashem El Oilom, El Yoim. Vayita Eshel Bevel Shova, Vayikresha B'Shem Hashem El Yoim. So Rashi says, what's the pshat? What's the connection between Vayita Eshel Bevel Shova, Vayikresha B'Shem Hashem El Yoim? So Rashi said that when he would bring wayfarers, homeless people, Avraham Avinu brought everyone into the tent, everyone into his home, even people that he thought were Arabs, and they were Oivdei Avodah Zarah. So Avraham Avinu gave them to eat, to drink, offered them all the hospitality, Eshel, Achila, and of course, he gave them Lino and Levaya and Shtia, everything you want, all the Rosh Tevis are applicable to Avraham Avinu's tremendous hospitality and tremendous kindness. And after they would finish the meal, so Avraham Avinu would say, Berechu, you have to give gratitude. So they said, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. No, not to me. Berechu, atem svurim shemimeni achaltem. You think that you ate something which belongs to me? I'm the proprietor. I'm the owner. No. You have to give gratitude to Misha Amar v'hoya oilam to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He said, who's HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So then he was able to explain to them, Mi bala biva, there is somebody who created the world. He owns the world. He has an agenda, a purpose of why he created the world, and we have to abide by his laws, and we have to abide by his will. This is what the drushas of Avraham Avinu consisted of. So the question is, we heard this from Moran, from Leib Malin, the question is, Avraham Avinu was Amud HaChesed. And the Rambam himself says that what is Chesed? Pure altruism. It's an exclusive concern for the welfare of your fellow man. Now, if you have personal interests, what they call pniyos, you have ulterior motivation, not only are you doing this kindness for the welfare of the individual that will be the beneficiary of this kindness, but you have some sort of hidden agenda. So therefore, we can't say that that's chesed, b'shleimus, imperfection. So Reb Leib, Zeichet Tzad v'Kodesh Livrocha, told us, no, that the Mashgiach said, that's the greatest of all chesed. The Berchu, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Misham v'Oya Olam, and everything belongs to him. He owns us and he owns everything in the world. Everything belongs to him. He's the proprietor, he's the owner, he's the king of the entire universe and all the worlds. Sustains them entirely. So the Rebbe Leib said, Moshel Madavar Doime, to somebody that comes to a city, he's a newcomer and he does not know his way around. So somebody comes over to him and says, listen, if you want to hear it's a good shir, a good lecture, you go here. If you want to go to buy good food, you go there. Over there's a good achsanya, there's a good hospitable family, they'll take you in. However, there's other areas which is sakonas nefashis. If you come to Yerushalayim, you have to make sure you don't go to the old city, come close to Arabayas, unfortunately, you're in grave danger. So what would we say about such a person that offered such valuable directions and instructions to somebody who doesn't know anything about this city? We would say that he is a tremendous Baal Chesed, and this is Achnasas Archim, this is hospitality, telling him where to avoid danger and explaining to him where he could have a good time, where he could live a very good, normal life by doing these activities and being involved in these areas and these people. So Reb Leib said that the Guf Achnasas Archim was the Berchu, the Bishomar, the Hoyo Oilom, because Avraham Avinu was a Shutif to HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Maaseh Bereishis. He wasn't someone that was like a pakid, a clerk who works 10, 12, 14 hours with tremendous devotion. He undertakes his tasks very diligently and he performs them perfectly. But that's not a Shutif to Baruch Hu b'Maaseh Bereishis. Only Avraham Avinu was labeled a Shutif to HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Maaseh Bereishis. Why is that? Because a Shutif, a partner, worries about the mifal, he worries about the factory 24, 26 hours every day. That's his entire concern. That's his entire involvement. And Avraham Avinu's involvement was in a mifal to tell the entire world that there's a balabira and to crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the king of the world, the owner of the world, who has a program from us that he will, like Ablev said in the Mashal, he will make sure that we have a great, happy, gratified life in this world, and we'll have a tremendous purpose, and we'll be able to come to the world to come. Just like Ablev said, Avraham Avinu was worried about a person having a good life in this world, and also being able to merit the world to come. That's a Shutif, that is Avraham Avinu. And that's what Tosfos says black on white when he asked the question in Brachas. He asked the question in Brachas, Kol bracha she'ein bo shemu malchus einoi bracha, and the first bracha of Avos is without a Shem, without a malchus. You have a Shem, Baruch atah Hashem, but we don't have a Elokeinu melech haolam, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. We don't have Melech Oilom, and any bracha doesn't have Shemu Malchus. Baruch atah Hashem. Kenu Melech Oilom is not a bracha. So Tosfos says you have it. That standard that you need in every bracha, Shemu Malchus. So that standard and that requirement is met in full. We don't say Melech Oilom. Says Tosfos, if you say Lekei Avram, you have said Melech Olam, because Avram was Shehimlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boilam. He crowned HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be the king of the world. He crowned him to be Melech Olam by explaining to everyone who HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, by proving to everyone the grandeur, majesty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we know from our Chazal that he wrote 400 prakim in Meseches Avodah Zarah. His Mesech Avodah Zarah was 400 prakim, and every havamina, every possible question that could be asked to disprove or a need to prove the existence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Avraham Avinu wrote 400 prakim of Meseches Avodah Zarah to disprove all the Avodah Zarahs, and to prove Yesh Manig Lebira Kutche B'richo, and there's a Hanhoga B'Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we don't have it. That's a question. We do not have that. Sefer Yetzirah is ascribed to Avraham Avinu, that we have, however, that we don't have. The Seches of Avraham Avinu, we were not Zoiche to have, but that was the greatness of Avraham Avinu. He brought monotheism into the world, and he had, like the Rambam says, tens of thousands of followers. The Rambam brings down the history. He was so successful, Avraham Avinu, had tens of thousands of followers. Of course, we have nothing that remains of that. And parenthetically, we should just say what the answer to why is that. The Sefer Yetzirah we have, but this we don't have, because we don't need it. The Jewish people are not in need of it, because the Tzaddik, Kain Agod Milublin, already told him. It says, Avram Oyavi. He loved me. He's my good friend, Avram. He already proved it. After Avram proved it, so the Jewish people, Tomim Tiyem Hashem Elokecha, have to go b'tmimus, be'emunah, tmimo, and it's enough that Avram Avinu proved everything, and our tradition, we know that he proved everything. So today, we shouldn't make chakiras. If we have time, we'll mention the Bnei Yissaschar. We shouldn't look into chakiras, but we should only be involved in emunah, tmima, in perfect emunah, not asking questions, ela accepting everything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, belev sholem. And as we know that the Bnei Yissaschar in Maimau Sivin brings down the Maimer HaMuzgar, parenthetically, does bring down the Chosid Yavetz, that the Chosid Yavetz says that when they had the Crusades in Spain and Portugal, so those that tried to understand the existence of Kadosh Baruch through Chakiras, their emunah was not emunah tmima of Tom Tiyem Hashem Elokecha. So they undertook Chakiras, philosophers, philosophia, right? So they were not, and they wanted to be oimen on the emunah with a moifis hasichli, proving it intellectually. So they unfortunately were not moiser nefesh, reading Gzeres Hashmad, they were not Mekayim, Kiddush Hashem, they were Mechal Hashem Shemayim. Kalei Adas, simple people, Vinoshim, Asher Munosam, who rak Kabbalah, the simple people, women, children, that were rak Kabbalah, true tradition of our Moavi, Kitchu Shema Nichbod, Vanoira Hashem Yisbarach, Yinkum Doma B'Mehera. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us in these generations. Emunah should be emunah tmimo. We're running a little bit over time, so we'll go back to the topic of discussion, and we should try to answer the question. We have a very interesting pasuk that when the polit came and he told Avram that Lech was captured, so we have a remarkable pasuk that says that he was be'eloi named Mamre, and he was together with Mamre, Onel, and Eshkol, B'nai Bris. He made a bris. They were B'nai Bris. They were the people that made a covenant with Avram Avinu. So, of course, the question naturally is asked, what kind of covenant did they make? Why did they make bris? A bris is the highest form of commitment. So if these were his b'nei bris, and the pasuk tells us exactly that these were b'nei bris, and we don't understand exactly what it means, this b'nei bris. Did he have a business, Avram? Was there some sort of corporation? We don't know. We don't know whether exactly what the content of this bris was. We assume that Avram didn't have a business. There was no some cooperative or a company. So the Chazal tell us a very interesting thing. Chazal tell us that they also were partners in Avram Avinu's undertaking of bringing Malchus Shamayim down to this world. Avram Avinu, he was the Amud, he was the central pillar, but they immensely helped him. And the one that helped him the most was Mamre. According to Rashi, right, they were the ones that during the Milchama, They watch, all three of them did watch his possessions that shouldn't be stolen. Others say it was only Onel and Eshkol. He went and he fought with Avraham Avinu. So these were people that they were partners in the great undertaking of Pirsum Elokus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of Malchusay Yisbarach should be transmitted to everyone. All of a sudden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and instructed Avraham Avinu to do bris milah. So Avraham Avinu, Rashi brings it down, said that if I do this, and the Chazal elaborate, so I'm going to separate myself from everyone. Through bris milah, I will be committed only to you, and insofar as my role in society is concerned, so I will now be a true Yachid. I'll be in isolation because people will not have anything to do with me. We have to understand this a little bit deeper. We don't have the time to delve in this, but those are the words of Rashi. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ani Kel Shaddai, Hisalech Lefona Ve'esomim. Why does it say Kel Shaddai? Dai Be'elokusim L'chol Beria. My company, my friendship is good enough for you. You can now become an isolated person, a lonely person, and you'll have to undertake your great mission in life as a lonely being. So all of a sudden, Avraham Avinu was startled. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu's command also consisted that he has to divest his three partners, because he has to go at it alone. Only Avraham Avinu will build Klal Yisrael. So of course, Avraham Avinu, we'll soon see why, was not anxious to do it. So we asked an eitzah of his three friends. But we'll just say the answer, we'll try to explain it. So Onel and Eshkol told him not to go through with it. But the Sifsei Chachomim brings down the Mizrahi and brings down the Medrash on the first pasuk of Vayera. So you can see it from there if you want to look it up. It brings down word for word. Only Mamre advised him to go through with the bris milah and fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to abide by the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the question is, like we mentioned a moment ago, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, be a lonely man, be isolated, undertake this great undertaking of yours alone. So you say, of course I'll do it. You have to go ask a eitzah. So why did he ask the eitzah? Why did he Bichlal ask them? The answer is a very important yesod, and the one that explains it beautifully is the great Reb Reuven Grozovsky. And based on this yesod, we should like to answer the question of Reb Chanan Mizrahi. He indeed asked them, what should I do? He had sveikis in the essential mitzvah of performing bris milah, which we said at the beginning of this year is incomprehensible. But that's what the Chazal tell us. Two people told him not to go through with it. So it had nothing to do to B'Faresia or B'Tzimah. Apparently. So at this juncture, we'll just move over to Shmois Rabbah. And the Chazal comment on the pasuk of Vayelech Moshe and Vayoshav el Yesel Chaisna. He returned to Yisro, his father-in-law, after there was a revelation by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to him. And we say on Yisro, B'choleis oyev areya ve'ach litzara yulad. A true friend is a consistent friend, always. B'choleis. And that was Yisro. He was a reya, a good, loyal, dedicated friend to his son-in-law, Moshe Rabbeinu. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him You leave Yisrael. You now go and become the redeemer of the Jewish people. So Chazal tell us something which it's difficult to read. We get excited and we also get very, very in a state of mind of disbelief. So it says the following, the words of Chazal. ובשעה שאמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, ואתה לך ושלחך אל פרעה, אמר לו, ריבונו של עולם, איני יכול, I can't. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, now you go to Paro and you redeem the Jewish people from bondage. Eini yochel, I can't. Why not? HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked him, Mipnei shekibalani Yisra, Yisra received me, upasach li beis, he opened me his house, vani moike ben, and he treats me like a son, and there's a klal in hakaras hatoiva, in gratitude, mishu poiseach pisra lechaveiroi, if somebody bestows good upon you, so you owe him your life, you have to risk his life for him. This is what he told HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, you are right, you can't go without Netilas Rishus. Says the Eitz Yosef of Matnas Kahuna, Shemirai Vav of the Kovet Shav, Yisrael the Moshe, Hutzrach linoig boy kovid. He had to have respect for him. V'lito b'menu rishus of the kind of mitzvah. This is the mitzvah of the Kodesh Baruch Hu that he should go redeem Klal Yisrael. This is absolutely mind-boggling. Reb Ruvain Grozovsky told us the Yesod HaYesodis. In Mamre, Reb Ruvain, so Reb Ruvain said, brings this medrash down. And he says, because of gratitude, Moshe Rabbeinu was willing not only not to abide by the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's much more than that. He was ready to renounce everything insofar as he himself is concerned, right? He won't be the one that brings the Torah to Klal Yisrael. He will not be the redeemer of the Jewish people. Because Im lo yitein lo Yisrael rishus, right? Rebbe says shehoisa tluya gulas Yisrael, because it says in Einatot, Chazal say in Einatot goyalam einacher goyalam. If you will be the redeemer, nobody will be the redeemer. So the Jewish people will be stuck there forever. Nevertheless, the Torah HaKadoshah goes through with Hilchos Hakaras HaToiva. Lo yuchal b'shum oifel levater al Hakaras Tevasai. So Reb Ruvain said, on Yisod Gadol v'Noira, this is really mind-boggling. We don't have a distinction between mitzvahs ben Adam lechaveroi and ben Adam lemokai. Every mitzvah ben Adam lemokai has to coincide with the rules and regulations of ben Adam lechaveroi. And Hakaras HaToiva, which is Avanta de Libo, without a Torah, everybody knows that there's a chi of gratitude. A person feels it in the depths of his heart. Chochmas Halev. So Moshe Rabbeinu said in Hakaras HaToiva, my feeling, I feel it deep, is a Pesach Pesach lechaveroi, b'nafshei chayev lo, ve'eni yochel, I can't do it. With Rishus, you can. You can be Michael. And that's exactly what happened. Avraham Avinu was the Av of Klal Yisrael, the Av of everybody, Av Amoin Goyim. However, he was the first one that understood this Klal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, Bris Milah. However, concomitantly with the fulfillment of this mitzvah, you will be looked at as scants. You will have no social interpersonal relationship. This is going to make you a lonely person. As we said before, we still have to explain this. You don't have the time to do it. You'll be a lonely person, an isolated person. You'll divest yourself of all your social relationships. Very good. So Avraham Avinu said, that means Onel, yes. Eshkol, yes. Mamre, yes. Either my partners. So he actually went to them and he asked their eitzah. Should we do it or should we not do it? They said, don't do it. They didn't give him rishus. Very good. So he can't do it. Godol shebikulam. The Godol shebikulam was Mamre, like Chazal point out. He was, so he said, of course you should do it. He gave the advice that he should do it, and Avraham Avinu accepted it. Why did Avraham Avinu have to consult them? Bechlal? It's a question why he didn't listen to the other two. So Chazal say, Olal Kulam, he was the most important dayo. Insofar as this is concerned, we still have to understand that. But that's the reason why he consulted them. Because even if it's a tzivui HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but every tzivui of Bein Adam, the Mokim has to coincide with the purity and has to be pristine, even insofar as the midas tovos of Bein Adam lechaveroi are concerned. So here we see gratitude, the importance of gratitude and how it overweighs a tzivui of a Kadosh Baruch Hu to a person. Number two, we see something remarkable. What was the reason why they did not want to relent? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu ipso facto that they're going to be outsiders. All three. They were partners till now. Mamre was the chief partner. They were silent partners. He was the chief partner. So we see self-sacrifice that we don't see anywhere else. Mamre said, if this is the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you yourself should undergo bris milah, become isolated socially from everyone, a lonely person, it would appear that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you, with your own efforts, to build up Klal Yisrael. We'd love to help you. We helped you. I helped you. I was your right-hand man. Now I have to be an outsider. Now I have to accept a rejection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything I did, I meant L'Shem Shamayim. I meant the Pharisee to publicize Malchusa Yisbarach. And now I have to accept a difficult decision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I should be an outsider. If that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, I'll do it. And this is a limud l'dairos of self-sacrifice. How many people build up a community? How many people build up a shul? How many people build up a yeshiva? How many people build up a home, etc.? They did so much, and they were instrumental in the great success of the institution. And now something took place, regardless whether it was politics or not, that we're not getting involved in that, but something took place that made them become an outsider as opposed to an insider. They were the catalyst for the establishment of great institutions, and all of a sudden they found themselves on the outside. So we can all learn. I'll tell you stories about myself concerning this. I'm not going to bore you, right? We can all learn from Mamre a tremendous lesson. If it's the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you accept it and you become an outsider. It's a self-sacrifice, and that's the limud we have from Mamre. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kvodo ba'atzmai rewarded him for this tremendous self-sacrifice of willingly becoming an outsider and letting Avraham Avinu become the Yochid, the only one that builds up Klal Yisrael, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself, Beinonei Mamre, and this is eternal in the Torah. This shows us a tremendous schar that he had for this tremendous, courageous, heroic self-sacrifice. Children during all generations and in all ages will learn this Rashi, the Fichach Nira, in the groves of Mamre. Thank you very, very much.